Have you ever stopped to think about how much a single habit, something as ordinary as your daily coffee, affects your financial life? Most of us don't. We walk into a cafe, grab a drink, swipe our card, and move on. It feels harmless. But the reality is subtler, and in many ways more impactful than we notice. Let's picture a typical scenario. You've landed your first full-time job. After taxes, you take home about $3,000 a month. That feels comfortable, maybe even a little freeing. But then, reality kicks in. Rent consumes $1,200, car payments $350, minimum credit card payments $200, student loans $250. That leaves around $1,000 for everything else: groceries, utilities, social outings, small indulgences. Now imagine adding one daily $5 latte from Starbucks. $5, 5 days a week, 4 weeks a month, that's $100 a month. At first glance, it doesn't feel like much, but over a year, that's $1,200, the equivalent of your rent for 1 month. And this is just one habit. Think of all the other small daily expenses: convenience snacks, drinks, subscription services, weekend takeout. Each feels tiny, insignificant, but over time, these small, repeated choices quietly accumulate, and in a decade, they can easily surpass $50,000 in missed savings or investment opportunities. Why do we consistently underestimate this? Psychology provides the answer. Our brains are wired for immediate gratification. The pleasure of that latte is instant. The long-term consequence of that $5 habit feels abstract, distant, and frankly, ignorable. We naturally focus on the short-term reward rather than the long-term trade-off. Meanwhile, consider Starbucks itself. Howard Schultz and his team didn't become a global coffee empire by guessing. They built their business through careful financial analysis and systematized decision-making. Every new store, every product, every expansion was studied for profit margins, repeatable revenue, and long-term growth potential. They understood that small, consistent increments, $5 here, $10 there across millions of customers, translate into billions in revenue. The principle is the same in personal finance. Small, repeated decisions, if managed intelligently, compound into significant outcomes over time. Let's break this down with simple math. Suppose instead of a $5 latte every workday, you invest that money in an index fund earning an average of 7% per year. Over 10 years, that same $5 a day grows to over $8,500. If you extend that to 20 years, it surpasses $25,000, all from a choice that initially felt trivial. Yet, most people treat their spending impulsively, rarely thinking about opportunity cost, the potential growth of money if it were allocated intentionally. There's also a behavioral trap at play: lifestyle inflation. When people get a raise, many increase spending immediately: better coffee, fancier lunches, new gadgets, rather than allocating some of that raise toward investments or savings. It's a subtle form of financial leakage, invisible day to day, but enormous over years. Now, let's return to Starbucks. Their growth strategy wasn't random. They optimized for scale, recurring revenue, and brand loyalty. They understood their customers' psychology and spending behavior, but they applied financial discipline to it, a repeatable system designed to maximize profit over time. The lesson for personal finance is simple, though often overlooked. Treat your money like a system, not a series of emotional impulses. Understand the why behind your spending. Recognize patterns. Evaluate long-term impact rather than immediate satisfaction. Think about two people. One buys a daily $5 latte, the other invests that amount weekly. Over 15 years, the difference is dramatic. The latte lover gains daily satisfaction but little long-term wealth. The investor experiences slow, compounded growth that quietly builds financial resilience. It's not about deprivation, it's about clarity, knowing what small habits cost in the long run, and understanding the systems, both external, like Starbucks, and internal, like your own spending, that shape outcomes. By observing companies like Starbucks, we can learn two things. 1. Small, repeated actions, whether spending or saving, compound over time. 2. Discipline and awareness matter more than dramatic gestures. Financial intelligence isn't about extreme austerity, it's about framing decisions consciously and objectively. So, the next time you pick up your daily coffee, pause for a moment, not to feel guilty, but to recognize the system you're part of, and the system you can create for yourself. If this perspective gave you clarity on the subtle power of daily financial decisions, consider subscribing for more calm, analytical insights. Understanding money is less about hype and more about seeing the patterns clearly. Now let's take this one layer deeper, because awareness alone isn't enough. What actually changes outcomes is structure. Most people believe financial discipline is about willpower, saying no, cutting back, being good with money. But decades of behavioral research show something uncomfortable. Willpower is unreliable. It fluctuates with stress, fatigue, mood, and environment. Systems, on the other hand, do not. High-performing individuals, whether in business, investing, or personal finance, rarely rely on constant self-control. They design defaults. They automate decisions. They remove friction from good behaviors and add friction to bad ones. Think about how Starbucks operates. The goal isn't to convince you every morning with logic. The goal is to make the purchase effortless. The app remembers your order. Payment is one tap. Locations are everywhere. The system does the work. Personal finance works the same way. If saving requires constant effort, manual transfers, remembering to invest, debating every purchase, you're fighting human psychology. But if investing happens automatically the moment income arrives, discipline becomes unnecessary. The system carries you forward even when motivation is low. This is why automatic investing is so powerful. When money is invested before you ever see it, spending adjusts naturally. You don't feel deprived because your lifestyle forms around what remains. The decision is already made. Now contrast that with reactive spending. Money enters your account, feels available, and slowly disappears through dozens of small, unexamined choices. At the end of the month, nothing catastrophic happened, yet nothing meaningful progressed either. This is how stagnation looks: quiet, comfortable, invisible. Another important concept here is time preference, the tendency to value today more than tomorrow. Humans are biologically wired for it. That's not a flaw, it's survival logic. But in modern financial systems, this wiring works against us. The key isn't to eliminate short-term enjoyment, it's to balance it intentionally. A useful framework is this: decide in advance what percentage of your income is for future you and treat it as non-negotiable. That might be 10%, 15%, or more, depending on your situation. Once that's secured, spend the rest without guilt. Clarity removes internal conflict. This reframing matters because when people think saving means constant restriction, they resist it. But when saving becomes a fixed system and spending becomes a conscious choice, stress decreases. You're no longer guessing, you're executing. Let's also address a common misconception: it's only worth investing when I earn more. In reality, early dollars are the most powerful dollars you will ever invest. Time is the multiplier, not income. A person who invests small amounts consistently in their 20s often outpaces someone who starts large in their 40s, not because they earn more, but because compounding had time to work quietly in the background. This is why small habits matter so much early on. They are not about the dollar amount, they are about trajectory. Once a trajectory is set, momentum does most of the work. Now zoom out even further. The same systems logic applies beyond coffee. Housing choices, car upgrades, subscriptions that quietly renew for years. Each decision feels isolated. In reality, they stack. Financial outcomes are rarely the result of one dramatic mistake or one brilliant move. They are the cumulative result of hundreds of ordinary decisions made repeatedly under the same system. This is why comparing yourself to others is misleading. You don't see their systems. You only see surface-level consumption. the car, the vacations, the lifestyle. But those visuals reveal nothing about long-term stability. True financial strength is often invisible. It shows up as flexibility, low stress, options, the ability to say no, the ability to wait. And that brings us to the most valuable outcome of all, optionality. When your money is structured intelligently, you gain choices. You can change jobs without panic, handle unexpected expenses without debt, invest when opportunities arise instead of scrambling for cash. This is what compounding ultimately buys, not luxury, but control. So when we talk about a $5 coffee, we're not really talking about coffee. We're talking about awareness. We're talking about systems. We're talking about aligning daily behavior with long-term intent. The coffee isn't the enemy. Mindless repetition is. And the solution isn't perfection, it's design. Design a system where good financial decisions happen automatically, where spending is intentional, not impulsive, where future you is paid first, consistently, without negotiation. Because when small actions are aligned with a clear structure, results stop being random, they become predictable. And predictable progress, quiet, steady, and compounding, is how financial stability is actually built.